Welcome to the course on the foundations of communication. Today, we are going to discuss some key points on the foundation of communication. And then I'm going to show you how to build confidence using communication, how to improve your active listening skills, how you can make small talk easily and effortlessly, and how you can improve your non-verbal communication and how to speak in professional settings. Now, first, let me ask you a question. Do you see yourself as a great communicator? Yes or no? Well, I'm going to help you with that. You see, many individuals struggle to identify with the key traits that constitute a good communicator or a great communicator. And there are several reasons for that. There's a lack of education on core communication skills. Many people are just not formally taught the principles of effective communication. Many people are provided with the technical aspects of effective communication, but they often neglect the soft skills side of things, such as active listening, emotional intelligence, and the non-verbal communication that is so important, such as speaking clearly, your appearance and attire, or vocal tone and delivery. But they ignore the deeper elements of communication, like empathy, body language, or audience engagement. And then there is the misconception about natural talent. You see, many people believe great communicators are simply born with the gift of the gab, rather than developing this important skill over time. It's this myth that discourages people from being aware of how good or how bad their communication skills really are. Or it actually harms them in a way by not allowing them to practice to become better communicators. Think of it like believing you can run a marathon just because you own a pair of sneakers. You see, effort and training are key when it comes to speaking effectively or communicating effectively. Most people don't get this concept and are not aware of how it can literally change your life. Moving on to the next slide, I want to talk to you about a lack of awareness of communication dimensions. What does this really mean? Dimensions. It just means the measurement of something. In this case, communication. And this just means that without knowledge of the three pillars, verbal, non-verbal, and emotional, people often find it challenging to convey messages effectively without using these three pillars of communication. Now, let's talk a little bit about low confidence in communication. Many individuals struggle with effective communication due to low confidence, shyness, a lack of exposure, not having had the right training. And your past can also play a huge role in all of this. I know mine did initially. And this can actually also manifest itself by way of hesitation, overthinking, or just the fear of being judged. Individuals often feel anxious in social settings. They are unable to express themselves. You see, it's this lack of self assurance or self confidence that often leads people to becoming even more cautious about their communication. And this in turn leads them just be unable to understand them. And this then forms a vicious cycle. Classic example is glossophobia, fear of speaking in front of people, or as some people call it, the fear of public speaking. At team meetings or in groups, or even when meeting new people, this can cause physical symptoms like sweating, trembling, nervousness, hesitation, anxiety, butterflies in your stomach. And those symptoms have a direct impact on your performance when you're communicating. Let's talk now about how we can build confidence in communication. To overcome social anxiety and build your confidence, focus on active listening, meaning pay more attention when connecting with others through empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is just the ability to understand and to share your feelings with anyone whom you are communicating with at the time. I'm going to provide you with some great tips on this in the next point. But first, let me ask you to try this. When you are anxious next time, try to shift your attention from feeling self-conscious, such as, oh goodness, something's happening to me, or something weird is going on within me, or I'm just nervous and my heart is pounding, or I'm just not good enough. Try to shift those thoughts and feelings, make a conscious effort to focus and understand the needs and the emotions of the person you are communicating with at the time. Whether it's a big audience or a small audience, this shift will help to reduce your anxiety and will redirect your focus away from the personal insecurities that you are feeling, and it will actually help you to build a meaningful connection with whomever it is you are communicating with at the time. Now, for both social anxiety and stage fright, start practicing these communication techniques in low pressured environments, such as if you're having a chat with close friends or family members. Then you can gradually progress to speaking in more challenging settings or situations like debates or at meetings or at work. But what you have to remember is that each tiny repetition or each tiny win, when you talk for the first time and you feel confident, those are those little tiny wins that will build your confidence. And continuous repetition, it will make your fear less and less each time. So if you are attending group meetings or presenting or even delivering a speech publicly, the more you do something, the better you become at it. We all know that. But you will also feel that your fear will also lessen in other areas of your life. Now, how great is that? Every time you speak and do something, remember that you're challenging yourself. And every time you're actually getting better, not just at speaking or delivering a training or speaking at a meeting, etc., but it also will help you in other areas of your life. Now, you know fully well what you run away from, what you are afraid of, and what you don't like doing, right? We all know that. But this is where the magic happens. Start with small steps and gradually expand those to challenge yourself, to move out of your comfort zone. You know when you're in your comfort zone, you know that I can do this now in my sleep pretty well. But you need to challenge yourself each time, and you will get better, not just at public speaking, not just at gaining more confidence. You will see other areas of your life change like magic. Now, here's another tip: visualization. Now, many people talk about visualization, but visualization is another very powerful technique if done correctly. So, visualization can be used to counter stage fright and build confidence as well. So before social or public speaking engagement, visualize yourself engaging with your audience and receiving positive feedback. So let me give you an example. Visualize yourself stepping onto a stage or making a presentation. Visualize the people in the audience. Visualize yourself speaking and receiving great feedback and receiving positive responses. People asking you several questions. Pair this with positive affirmation, such as, I am a clear and confident communicator. Write down these affirmations. Repeat them every time before you go for a speech or before you have to do something that you fear. I am a clear and confident communicator. I can do this. These mental exercises will help reframe negative self-talk and reduce most of your physical symptoms of anxiety, such as trembling or sweating. And you will see that it will create a sense of calm and confidence. Think of snow. You know, snow that comes during winter. Some people love it and some people just hate it. Perception is projection. But here's the secret. You can change that in a minute. It's what you tell yourself that matters. So remember these affirmations, and what you tell yourself is vitally important. Stephen Covey actually once said, the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we always listen to reply. Do you see this? The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. Failing to listen attentively can lead to several misunderstandings. But not knowing how to actively participate in a conversation or how to communicate effectively can make discussions feel just one-sided. Either one person talks too much or one person just switches off and doesn't listen. To overcome these misunderstandings and really and truly engage with people, use paraphrasing. What is paraphrasing? It's trying to express the meaning of what someone is saying or what would you like them to say. So let me give you an example of paraphrasing. Let's improve team collaboration. It may help us to meet our deadlines. But if we switch that around, we could say, so you're suggesting that we focus on improving team collaboration to meet the project deadlines. Is that correct? You're asking for more detail, more explanation. Or let's give you another example. When you mention team collaboration, are you referring to regular meetings, shared tools, or something else? You're elaborating on the sentence. Always respond with, so what you're saying is, and finish the sentence. Or, do you mean that? Finish the sentence. This not only ensures clarity, but also shows the speaker or the person you're communicating with that you are actively processing their words. You are actively listening. It creates a two-way interaction that reduces the sense of one-sidedness in a discussion or a conversation. Encouraging a person to elaborate helps strengthen that engagement. And this, in turn, demonstrates that you are genuinely listening You are genuinely interested and you genuinely care. Instead of asking yes or no questions, use open-ended questions like, can you tell me more about what you do? Or what led you to this conclusion? See, this approach deepens conversations and ensures that both parties feel involved and valued. And this in turn enhances the overall quality of your communication. How do we now address poor listening skills? Simply by focusing on being fully present. Just being there and focusing on what the person is saying, using empathy. And while you're doing that, avoid any distractions, such as your phone, your wandering thoughts, or even multitasking in any other way. Try and make a conscious effort to maintain eye contact with the person, smile, nod, and use affirming gestures like you support the person, you agree with the person, you approve of what they are saying, you validate what the person is saying. There's so many gestures we can use, right? Even a smile, even a nod, even I agree, anything to let the person know that you are actively listening and you are consciously making an effort to say, I hear you. Now, let's talk about small talk. How can we make that easy? Most people find small talk very difficult. So, starting a conversation with strangers can be quite intimidating, very frightening, and sometimes even overwhelming to many people. But equally, keeping a conversation flowing without awkward pauses is also quite a challenge for very many people. They struggle with this. So, when initiating conversations, once again, use open ended questions to encourage the other person to share more than just a simple yes or no answer. A yes or no answer sometimes shuts down the conversation. When you ask open ended questions, this makes a person feel less intimidated to start a further dialogue with you. And it creates opportunities for a more natural conversation, for people to ask you more questions. So let's look at some examples. Instead of asking, did you enjoy the event? Try, what did you think about the event? See, you're opening up a conversation. And instead of, is this your first time here? Instead ask, what brought you here today? See? Then, if you're meeting a new person to break the ice, comment on your surroundings, share an experience, or just stick to a neutral topic. Now, let's look at an example for this one. This conference has such great energy. What session stood out for you so far? See? Then they get chatting with you. The weather's been so unpredictable lately. Are you a fan of winter? Or are you a fan of summer? Whatever the weather is at the time. This approach will make it so much easier for you to find common ground and will help the conversation start naturally. Keeping a conversation engaging requires you to demonstrate genuine interest in the other person's response. And I've already talked about this. But again, we should use active listening techniques like picking up on a key word and feeding it back to that person. Listening attentively will help you to do that, such as, so you're saying you've always been fascinated by technology? Or ask follow-up questions. That sounds interesting. Or what inspired you to pursue cooking or scuba diving? This shows that you're engaged and that you care. You are interested in what they are telling you. And this helps again to avoid awkwardness, pauses, any discomfort that you are feeling at the time. You kind of break the ice, and within minutes, you've made a friend, you've made an acquaintance. It feels as though you've known the person for a very long time. You see? Now, let's talk about how do we really improve our non-verbal communication. Failing to understand non-verbal cues can lead to miscommunication across the board. It can turn people off and it can completely undermine you. But equally, using unintended body language or non-verbal communication, as we call it, and undermine the message that you are trying to deliver to somebody. So Peter Drucker said, and I quote, "The most important thing about communication is hearing what isn't being said." The most important thing about communication is hearing what isn't being said. So, point number one, be always aware of your body language. Stand or sit upright with relaxed shoulders. Avoid crossing your arms and face the person you are speaking to. This conveys approachability and confidence of a very, very different kind. Use gestures to reinforce your point when you are speaking. Compliment your words, meaning praise the person or express your admiration for what they are saying. And use hand gestures and your speech. Like, for example, I've read all your books. See, that sends out a signal that you really care for what they're saying and you really care for them. But please, never forget, avoid reusing your gestures, which can also be very distracting. And instead, use them to just emphasize when you're using key messages. Be mindful of your facial expressions, because sometimes when we are too focused on what we are feeling, our facial expressions can give an absolute opposite message to a person. So always ensure your facial expressions align with your message. For example, smile when you are expressing positivity, or nod to indicate that you understand them or that you agree with them. Maintain a balanced eye contact. Look at the person you're speaking to, but avoid staring at them all the time. Why? This can feel very intimidating. Aim for natural eye contact, like to show that you care, to show that you are engaged, and to build trust, of course, always, when someone is asking you a question, because that is just taken by some people as being plain rude. Be aware that eye contact norms vary across cultures. In some cultures, prolonged eye contact is a sign of confidence, while in others, it may be seen as disrespect. So use your eye contact to signal attention. When listening to somebody speak, use eye contact to show attentiveness, that you are truly there and listening and present. But combine it with nodding or small verbal facial affirmations or gestures like I see, I understand, I agree, those kind of things. And then the next point you can take away is match your tone with gestures and expressions. Ensure your tone of your voice aligns with your non-verbal cues. For example, using a warm tone paired with a friendly smile reinforces positivity, while a firm tone with steady eye contact conveys authority. Next, this is an NLP technique. Reflect on someone's body language. For example, mirroring somebody's body language. You can build rapport with them. And how do you do it? You look at them. If they're crossing their legs, after a little while, you cross your legs too. If they have their hands in their lap, not immediately, you place your hands in your lap too. If you mirror their gestures and their posture, this can build rapport and make them feel even more comfortable with you. Yes. Now, the most important and exciting point to me is speaking in professional setting. I know everyone wants to learn about this. You see, speaking in professional settings, the problem is that not many people realize how word choices can influence perception, especially during interviews and meetings. And not learning this skill can cost you. You can feel unprepared or too intimidated to communicate effectively. Of course, and struggling to present or sell yourself confidently can also cost you. We know that. Let's try and deal with this. I'm going to share a few tips here. Choose your words carefully, meaning before interviews or meetings, outline the key points you want to convey and research these points carefully. Avoid any filler words like, I think, that kind of thing. Use positive and specific language. Replace your vague statements with absolute precise examples. For instance, instead of saying, I worked on a training project, say, I led a cross-functional team to successfully deliver a training project ahead of schedule. But be aware of your tone and your delivery. Don't appear like you're speaking like a parrot. Rehearse these sentences before interviews. Practice them. Write them down. And then go for that big interview or that big meeting. You see, words carry emotional weight. So choose terms that inspire confidence. Let's see some examples. The word probably or the word absolutely. Now, probably leaves room for doubt and absolutely leaves no room for doubt at all. So if you asked an interview questions, can you do this? Absolutely. Not probably. Let's look at another example. Hopefully or committed. Hopefully indicates doubt or hesitation. And committed confirms dedication and dependability. Strong and positive words are key to anybody believing you, trusting you, or wanting to hire you. Then you can create a personal elevator pitch, which we often talk about. Develop a 30 or a 60-second introduction that highlights who you are, what you do, and what value you bring to the table. So for example, a bad elevator pitch could go something like, I'm John Brown, I work in sales, and I just try to get people to buy my stuff. That's it. Now think about it. Who's going to hire you if you speak like that? What is a great elevator pitch? Let's turn that around. Hi, I'm John Brown, a results-driven sales professional who has consistently exceeded targets and built strong client relationships, increasing revenue by 25% year on year. That sounds great for your CV. Remember to tailor your language accordingly to adjust to different audience types. Practice it and then deliver it. And you will see the difference in people's response to you. Now, Let's look at introductions. I'm Jillian Hasley, a trainer, speaker, resilience and communications expert, dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations to overcome adversity and excel through effective communication and resilience strategies. Here's the tips. Highlight your skill when introducing yourself. Emphasize your diverse expertise like trainer, speaker, resilience and communication expert, coach, anything you'd like to add in. But do it in a way that resonates with your audience. Don't put too much in, and at the same time, don't take too much out. For example, tailor the introduction to focus on the aspect most relevant to that particular event or that particular company or to that particular meeting or conversation. Always remember to tailor it all the time. Also remember to focus on outcomes and on what you do or on what you offer. Remember to convey the impact of your work, such as helping organizations improve resilience or individuals to improve their communication skills. This reinforces the value you bring to the table. Always remember, whether it's formal, a corporate event, or informal, a networking session, always remember to tailor your message to your audience, to keep your message consistent and engaging. Try keeping a list of these tips. And when you are editing your CV or writing your speech or practicing to deliver a presentation at your next meeting, try to incorporate as many of these techniques and tips as you can. They are going to help you. That takes me to my last slide. So to wrap up, we just covered the foundations of communication. Remember the unclear understanding that we talked about and the lack of awareness. That includes the 3 pillars of communication and how to deal with low self-confidence. How to build confidence using communication. Remember that. How to deal with social anxiety, stage fright, and how to use visualization effectively. Also remember that we discussed how to improve your active listening skills, how to use paraphrasing and clarify when you are communicating with people asking open-ended questions, and use mindfulness. Be present in any conversation. Then we discussed how you can easily make small talk with people, how to start again with open-ended questions. Use shared experiences, your active listening skills. How you can improve your non-verbal communication. How to use body language effectively, how to improve your eye contact, and how to improve your tone and non-verbal alignment when you speak. Then we learned how to speak in professional settings. Choose words intentionally to improve clarity and impact. Remember the saying, if you fail to prepare, you will prepare to fail. Remember this if you haven't heard it before. And we also learned how to master the art of introduction. And I'd like to leave you with good communication is the bridge between failure and success. Challenge yourself every day to do something different out of your comfort zone and try to cross that bridge. And your life will never be the same. I hope you enjoyed the course, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future.